exercise Pilates people, I've programmed a beginner to intermediate workout for you today. It's roughly about half an hour. There is an intermediate to advanced or higher level one that is a little bit longer, 48 or 45 minutes long, and you can find that on the email link with this one. But this one is more derivative of our intermediate levels, and it incorporates some rolling exercises, which you can alternate for some optional others that I'll discuss in the video. Let's start warming up together. Let's start standing upright. So we're going to begin with feet hip width. Knees are soft or slightly bent. Your pelvis is positioned between your soles. And we're going to relax the shoulders, but float the sternum. Hands can begin on your pelvis. Take a nice soft breath in. From this point, we're going to work through some pelvic tilts. So we're going to begin by tilting the pelvis forwards. Now, I'd like you to add a small amount of your T-zone recruitment on your next exhale, and then begin tilting your pelvis gently forwards. Looking at a soft lumbar spine arch here, the tailbone might gently lift. As we inhale, we want to come back through center. Exhale, tilt the tailbone down. Hips are turning back towards your rib cage, and then we're going to inhale to center. Exhale, tilt, and inhale, center. Exhale, tip the hips back towards the rib cage, the tailbone drops under. Inhale to center. So we're going to move through this nice anterior, which is forwards, and posterior, which is backwards pelvic tilt. Just loosening up any kind of pressure or any kind of congestion that you might have through your front and back line, as we call it, and looking at the relationship from your pelvis placement to your lower back, and also your hip flexor to your obliques. Let's do one more here, either way. Forwards and back through that pelvic tilt. It's nice and soft, relaxed knees. Now I want you to position your pelvis in the center. Your hips are not rolled forwards or back towards your rib cage. Your lumbar spine should feel nice and long, and the tailbone softly drawn down. From this point, we're now going to do hug a tree. Keep that nice neutral pelvic placement. Hands come up to clasp those fingertips, shoulders away from the ears. Keep that soft bend, or add a little bit more if you need. Now take your breath in. As we drop chin to chest, the belly is flattening, the two hip bones are narrowing. We're going to pull the fingertips away, widen through the shoulder blades to come into a nice round upper back. Then we're going to inhale, bring the fingertips back towards us to switch the stretch off, and float the chin upright. Sternum floats. As we exhale, chin drops to chest. Exhale, pull the fingertips away, widen through the shoulder blades. You can see I'm really rounding out my chest to come into a nice hug a tree. Inhale to undo, lift, sternum, lift chin. Exhale, and inhale. I'm not manipulating my pelvis here or letting my pelvis twist around. I want to keep the lumbar spine more or less in neutral, so the stretch is focused on the upper back. Good. We're going to do two more of these. Chin drops to chest. Exhale, pull the fingertips away. Inhale, chin and chest upright. Good. Last one. Exhale. We're going to hold this for a breath or two. Really think about pulling your fingers away from your chest. Really rounding and widening those shoulder blades. Good. A soft breath in. We're going to undo, float the chin and the sternum. Relax your hands by your side. Let's do a little bit of rolling. Think about keeping a soft bend in your knees, or a larger bend if you need to limit range. We do have our pelvis tilting forwards in this exercise. You can start with your hands on your thighs. We're going to start with a nice soft breath in. Think about that lift of your sternum. Drop your chin to your chest. Now, as we sink the ribs towards the hips, exhale, the band of abdominals is widening and flattening over the hip bones. We want to let our head travel in front of the chest and belt line. You can see my upper back is rounding. I'm keeping a soft bend in my knees as I exhale, round the crown of my head towards the mat. I'm looking to round fully through the spine from the tailbone, to the tailbone. And at the bottom, I might even place a larger bend in the knees. Take a soft breath in here. Have a little shake of yes and no of that head to release any pressure off your neck. We're going to scoop through the abdominals. Exhale, push through your heels, switching on your legs, and start to stack your vertebrae upright on your pelvis, letting your chin lift last as we relax the shoulders down. Float the sternum, inhale. Chin to chest, exhale, sink the ribs towards the hips. Now let the arms go nice and loose, the head soft from that neck joint. As we exhale to sink and round, I'm taking my time, so I'm letting each vertebrae open as I relax the crown of the head towards the mat. A breath in at the bottom, remember, bent knees if you need, a larger bend if you want to take pressure off the lower back. Scoop the belly on the exhale, round and roll, push against the legs, switch them on, stack the spine upright. 3 more, nice deep breath in, chin to chest. Exhale. Now for you, those of you that hyperextend at the knee joint, I want you to be conscious of that joint taking stress. If you are using a hyperextended knee joint, you're going to be pushing through the small tendons and ligaments that keep the knee joint healthy. So keep a bend in the knee. We're not looking to strain anything here. This is a nice long stretch through the spine, but we don't want to be compensating through any of the joints. Good. On this, our last one, we're going to stay at the bottom. Drop chin to chest. Exhale, sink, round and roll. Now, as we lower the crown of the head towards the mat, rounding through the back, you're going to pause at the bottom for a breath in. If you need to, bend the knees to meet your fingers to the mat. Keeping your head nice and relaxed, we're going to scoop the belly on the exhale. This time, we start to walk our fingertips forwards. Now, as we walk the fingertips forwards, we're coming into our box position. So we bring the shoulder blades in line with the wrist as we bend the knees to the mat. Position your hip joint over your knee joint and come to your box. Shoulder blades draw down. Think about lengthening the neck. I'm going to come straight away into my push-up level 1. Hands as wide or wider than my mat if you're particularly wide through the chest. Think about really pushing off the chest, the shoulder blades really strongly rooted in the back of the body. Take a moment to switch on and off if you need here. You're starting now at pelvic floor level. Inhale, exhale, T-zone. We're going to inhale, drop the nose down between the hands, bending the elbows. We want to make sure we're not creating tension in the neck joint, shoulder blades down. Push off the chest, exhale, scoop the belly and bring yourself back to the box. Inhale, nose down, exhale, push off. I want you to think about that nice neutral lumbar spine that we thought about in the beginning of our warm-up. Our hips are not tilted forwards or tilted back. In fact, the lift of the belly is helping you to support a nice neutral spine. You should think about a nice strong connection or a balance point of your shoulders and your hip bones. Neither one will be higher than the other in the box. And we're working the chest, as well as the back, as well as the abdominals. Good, as well as the pelvic floor sling. 3 more, inhale, nose down, exhale, 2. Last one. Push against the chest, draw the shoulder blades back in line with the body. Walk the hands back underneath the shoulder socket. Now, wrist and shoulder is aligned. If you'd like, take a rest if you need. Drop back to your child's pose, take time off. I'm going to move straight away into my swimming arms and legs. Shoulder blades gliding down. Exhale through T-zone to reach on out a straight line in front and behind the box. I'm going to squeeze my glute, draw my shoulder blade down to lift the hand and foot, keeping the shoulder girdle and the pelvis in line. Inhale, come back to the box. Place hand under the shoulder, knee under the hip joint, other side. Exhale, reach on out. Good. Exhale through T-zone. Squeeze the glute max, draw the shoulder blade down to lift your hand and foot. Inhale, come back to the box. You can always separate these exercises, making this an arm exercise, swimming arms, and making a leg exercise, swimming legs. This is challenging the balance. This is challenging that nice neutral spine a little bit stronger by adding 2 limbs floating from the mat and having to coordinate. Exhale to reach on out. Draw a straight line in front and behind your box. Keeping your hips turned towards the mat, your shoulder blade gliding down, squeezing the glute to keep that lumbar spine in neutral. We float the hand and foot from the mat. It might be a little lift. This might be where you're working. You may gradually float your hand and your foot to roughly shoulder and hip height. But we're looking to support a nice neutral lumbar spine. We're looking to support hip bones level, shoulder blades level. No tension around that neck joint. 1 more each side. So keep kicking my couch. And my heel. Last one. Beautiful. From this position, You can tuck your tailbone if it suits. You might round through the lower back a little bit. Pull the buttocks back towards the heels and drop back for a child's pose. If your hips are okay with this compression on your knees, you may also come down to bent forearms and have a little break here. Take a little rest. We're going to move out this position. We're going to come down onto the belly and work in our back series next. So let's bring ourselves down onto the stomach. All the way down, we're going to start with stop signs. Hands at face height, elbows bent. Forearms are on the mat. Turn the heels out so glutes are off. Pop or look down with eyes and nose. Think about resting the weight off of the neck if you need to here. Now we're switching on. Inhale, lift pelvic floor. Exhale, T-zone, lifting the contents of the belly from the mat. 2 hip bones are narrowing. Some of you may need to glide the tailbone softly down. So we're coming into a more neutral lumbar spine setting or a slightly elongated setting of that lumbar spine. Stop signs are going to begin on your next outward breath, but I want you to relax the shoulders from the ears. We're going to exhale, glide the shoulder blades down the back, drawing into the waistline beneath the rib cage. Elbows glide down to the waist. Keep your forearms on the mat. Inhale, hands come back to face height. Exhale, glide the shoulder blades down your back, drawing into the waistline beneath that rib cage, squeezing the elbows into the sides. Now I want you to find the middle back connection. Inhale, hands to face height. We're looking for middle fiber of trapezius to be switching on. We're looking to keep tension off of the neck joint. So rest the forehead completely on the mat if you choose. We want to keep the abdominals working, pelvic floor engaged. So we're keeping a nice neutral lumbar spine. And we're not losing the belly's contents onto the mat. We don't want the hips to be crushing forwards. We want to work through this nice, strong engagement of your core muscles. Last one, exhale, glide the shoulder blades down your back, drawing those elbows into the waistline. Inhale, hands to face height. Have a little rest if you need to. You can soften both your pelvic floor and abdominals, and you can widen your arms a few centimeters from your chest for your swan prep back extension next. Let's begin with the shoulder blades nowhere near the earlobes. Forehead resting or looking down. Coming back for your pelvic floor engagement, inhale. Exhale, T-zone. There are 2 little pockets of air beneath your hip bones in the mat. We're looking to keep a nice neutral lumbar spine. Now on your next inward breath, we're going to start to roll a little marble, just a centimeter or 2 forward to the tip of the nose. Keep looking down the tip of your nose as we exhale, glide the shoulder blades down your back, drawing into the waistline beneath the rib cage to peel the chest off. Inhale, chest comes back down, but belly stays lifted from the mat. Nose back on your glass marble. Exhale, roll it underneath your chin, rounding over the back of your neck. Again, inhale, roll the marble a centimeter or 2 forwards. Exhale, glide the shoulder blades down your back. Good, inhale, chest comes back down, but the belly wants to stay lifted from the mat. Nose on the marble, exhale, roll it underneath the chin. If you'd like, you can rest in between your swan prep extensions. Now we're looking to limit lumbar spine, taking this extension away from the upper back. We want the same sensation of the trapezius activation we had in our stop signs exercise. This time we're looking to take it further into that middle back connection by peeling the chest ever so gently from the mat. It might be 1 rib bone, it might just be the collarbone. It might be progressively lifting a little extra centimeter or 2 of your chest from the mat, provided you can keep the belly flattening, the 2 hip bones, with those 2 little pockets of air beneath them on the mat. We're going to do 2 more of these lovely upper back extensions. Good, you know what's coming next. Plank 1 and 2. Let's do 1 more here. Peeling the chest off on the exhale, drawing the shoulder blades down the back into the waistline. Keep the belly engaged. Inhale, chest comes back down, nose back on the marble. Exhale, roll the marble underneath the chin. Then rest everything onto the mat for a little break. Good. From this point, we are going to look at our plank 1 and 2. So we're going to bring ourselves up onto our forearms, reading a book on the beach. Push off the chest. Think about drawing the shoulder blades back down into that stop sign, pulling the elbows in towards the rib cage, and think about pushing your chest forwards. Your upper back extension should be really strong here. and it should mimic that sensation of that heel of the chest from the mat. So the back does a lot of work in plank one. Now we want to keep this workload in the upper back and chest. Now we're now going to add in our activation of pelvic floor and abdominals. So take your inward breath, lift your pelvic floor without losing the shoulder setting. Keep the shoulders down. On an exhale, let's lift the contents of the belly from the mat here, the two hip bones narrowing. We're coming back to those two little pockets of air beneath your hip bones on the mat. From this point, think about drawing the shoulder blades down, pushing off the forearms and breathing. Counting your 10 breaths here with the belly lifted for your plank one. You could breathe in, tap a finger, exhale, push off the forearms, lift the belly. If you're staying in your plank one, count your 10 breaths here, looking at this lovely upper back extension. For plank two, on your next exhale, prepare by lifting the abdominals from the mat a little bit deeper. The two pockets of air are now lifting the hips from the mat, pushing off the forearms. Now I'm going to lift my pelvis roughly in line with my shoulder girdle. Look at your forearms or the front legs of your table. If you need, realign your elbow just in the front section of your shoulder socket. Take a deep breath in, exhale, lift the belly from the mat. Think about lifting the contents of the belly that might drop your tailbone. Here is your plank two. Push off the forearms. Don't drop your head under. You'll find that you're sacrificing your breathing. Keep yourself pushed off the forearms and count your 10 breaths. If you lose your belly, you'll find your lower back is sagging. You're losing that nice neutral spine. Think about the exhale, lift the belly from the mat. Think about pushing off those forearms and the front legs of the table. Breathing in and out, counting with your fingers if you choose your 10 breaths here. You can always come back down to the previous level, which would be your plank one. Whatever you're working on, you have just 2 more breaths left. Inhaling and exhaling, using that full capacity of the lungs. Don't lose the belly, keep it lifted and engaged. Your last breath in and out. From this point, we're coming back down the way we came up. We're slowly going to sink the hips back to the mat. Once the hips come back down, push off the forearms. Come back to that upper back extension, so we're not letting the lumbar spine take the full weight here. And then we're slowly going to sink the chest down and take time off of our plank 1 and 2. Well done. If you'd like to repeat that exercise, pause here, repeat that here. You might like to do it in front of a mirror or a surface where you can see your alignment. You saw there that I was checking in the monitor what I looked like, but that was only because I wanted to make sure I was giving you a very strong visualization. We're going to slide our hands down to chest height, round the back. You can tuck your tailbone if you'd like. Scooping the belly, you can pull yourself back into a child's pose for a little rest here. Well done, you're working really hard. We're going to come into a kneeling position on your mat for your hinge and spine twist. You might like a little cushioning for your knees. Now I'm going to bring my knees onto that cushioned edge. My knees are in line with my ASIS or hip bones here. I want to lift the spine upright, and from the side you can see knee, hip and shoulder alignment is really secure here. If you need to, think about your pelvis and your lumbar spine placement. You don't want hips forwards, buttocks directed back, lumbar spine arched, and you equally don't want hips tucked all the way under, hip flexors opened, glutes squeezed. I want you to think about a nice neutral spine alignment. If you are particularly lordotic, i.e. your hips tend to pull forwards into a forwards pelvic tilt, I want you to have a little draw down of your tailbone. This doesn't mean you engage your glutes. This means that you lengthen the lumbar spine gently down, and so you feel like you are lengthened both front and back. Come back to thinking about switching on your T-zone through pelvic floor and abdominals. Draw the shoulder blades down as we float the sternum upright. Now in your arm prep exercise when we lay on our back, we focus on the ribs drawing towards the hips on a deep exhale. Same breathing pattern for this. However, your hands are going to rest on your thighs. Now on your inward breath, we're gently going to rock back. A straight line from knee, hip and shoulder will stay apparent. As we inhale, we rock back, a straight line from knee, hip, shoulder. We're stretching, or we've got an isometric contraction on our quads. As we exhale, we want to sink the ribs towards the hips, flattening the belly to slowly come upright. Again, we inhale to rock back, and we exhale upright. Ribs drawing to hips, flattening the belly. I don't want you to lean back with your chest, arching your back. I want you to keep this nice sensation of your obliques working strongly and your neutral spine directing this movement. There's a straight line from knee, hip, shoulder, inhale, and exhale upright. You're working your quadriceps. If it's too much on your knees or you find your back doesn't like this, come back to 4-point kneeling and you can come back to your swimming if you like. We're going to inhale and exhale. Keep your chin lightly tucked. Look down the tip of your nose. If you find you're getting a little bit of jaw or neck tension, press your tongue to the roof of your mouth quite firmly. Open up your lips and breathe through pursed lips for me. So we're going to inhale and exhale. Good. You should feel that your quadriceps, the front of the thigh, is working really strongly. Don't lose this nice neutral lumbar spine. Particularly if you push your bum back, you will be straining your lower back. Particularly if you thrust your hips all the way forwards, you'll be putting a lot of pressure through the kneecap itself, and you won't be using the abdominals or focusing on that quadricep engagement. We're going to do 3 more. Inhale to rock back, and exhale, ribs draw to hips, flatten the belly, slowly come upright. These quads are getting a workout. Hinge is quite a strong exercise. Working the rectus femoris, 1 more. Good, slowly coming upright. Have a little break if you need. I'm staying in high kneeling. I'm going to bring my hands into Cossack for spine twist. From my Cossack, relax the shoulders down, float the sternum. Again, I'm looking at a nice neutral lumbar spine engagement. I'm going to drop my chin so I look at a watch on my wrist. I'm going to come back to switching on both my pelvic floor inhale and exhale T-zone. And from this point, keeping my knees fixed on the mat, I'm going to begin exhale to rotate round. My chest and arms as 1 unit. My hips want to stay forwards, as if they were shining headlights on the road. I'm going to inhale to bring my chest and arms back in line with my hips. Try not to arch your back. Keep that soft drawdown of tailbone. We're going to exhale for spine twist and inhale to center. If this is uncomfortable on your knees, you can all by means come down cross-legged and do your spine twist Cossack here. It'll be a smaller rotation. We're working, exhaling to spine twist, arms and chest unit as 1. So you may find that you can't rotate that far with the chest. And that means that you cannot rotate anymore without moving these hips out of a nice neutral placement. From the front, exhale for spine twist and inhale to center. Good. Keep the shoulder blades glided down. Keep looking at the watch on your wrist. Good. We're working these obliques. Let's engage this waist. Keeping our T-zone flattening to keep the hips shining those headlights on the road ahead. We shouldn't be twisting here. We shouldn't find the bum is twisting side to side. We're looking to support high kneeling throughout. We're going to do 1 more each side. Exhale to twist, arm and chest as 1 unit. Inhale to center. Relax your arms. You can take the weight off your knees. Come down onto your buttocks. You might like to unroll that mat's edge. I'm going to do a little bit of half roll back here. If it doesn't suit you, pelvic curl could be a nice alternate exercise. In our seated position, we have bent knees. Your feet can be together, knees pressed together, or a little part between if you choose. From this seated position, you might pop something under your tailbone to help you sit upright and tall. Now, from behind me, you can see my pole is just behind my spine, and in the monitor, I can see that I'm sitting upright. If I'm slumped back, my chest is behind my hip bones, I'm not seated upright, and it's quite hard to connect to pelvic floor here because the spine is curved and pressure is directed downwards. Lift the waistline upright. Try to lift your ribs from your waist from your hips, and sit as tall as you can on the bottom of your pelvis, your sit bones. Hands under those thighs, lift the spine. From this point, you should be able to switch on both your pelvic floor inhale and exhale, flattening the belly, the 2 hip bones narrowing together. We're going to begin on your next outward breath. So take a big breath in here, a little tuck of chin to chest. We're going to exhale, let the tailbone tuck under first. So we're going to release and round the lumbar spine. Drop the chin to the chest, sink the ribs towards the hips as we exhale, roll back, scooping the belly to come into a C-curve spine position. Have a look down and check that your belly is flattening. Take your breath in. Using your hands on your thighs, we're going to exhale, scoop the belly out, round your forehead forwards towards your knees. Come up as small and rounded as you can through that spine, and then inhale, lift upright. Good, again. Exhale, drop the tailbone under, letting the hip bones turn back towards the rib cage, letting the chin drop towards the chest. Exhale, sink the ribs towards the hips to scoop the abdominals, rolling back. We're resting on the bottom lumbar spine vertebrae connected to the mat. Take your breath in, exhale, round and roll, and lift spine upright. Inhale. Good, let's do 3 more. Drop the tailbone under on an exhale. Think about your hip bones moving back towards your rib cage. Your chin drops to chest, ribs drop towards hips as we scoop the belly to roll back. Take your breath in. Exhale, rounding forehead forward, scooping belly out so we come up as small as we can and lift the spine. Let's do 2 more. Keep it in a small range. Drop the tailbone under. Exhale, roll back. Scooping the abdominals, looking down for your breath in. Rounding your forehead forward, scoop the belly out. Come up as small as you can and lift the spine upright. Inhale, your last one. Tailbone drops under. Hips drop back, ribs drop to hips, scoop the belly, chin to chest. Good, inhale. Exhale, round and roll forwards, forehead to the knees. Good, lift the spine upright. Bring your hands either side. Slowly bring your head back to the mat and come down into supine for a little bit of abdominals. So we're nearing the end of our workout here. We're focusing now in supine. Now, neutral spine is where it's at for all of these exercises. You may find that your neutral spine positioning changes slightly, but always neutral. So we're going to start with lift and extend. Hands either side of your hip bones, relax your head and your shoulders on the mat. Now we're in neutral spine through the lower back. Let's now switch on through pelvic floor and abdominals here. Inhale, exhale, belly is flattening. The 2 hip bones are narrowing. So we're flattening the belly so the pelvic bones can meet at the front of the body. Don't tilt your pelvis back. On your next exhale, as the belly flattens, the ribs drop towards the hips to float 1 foot from the mat. We're going to extend the leg from hip to toe, have a little lower of the leg here. Inhale, knee over hip, pop the foot down, change sides. Exhale, lift foot, knee over hip for a tabletop. Extend the leg from hip to toe and exhale to lower. Inhale, knee over hip, pop the foot down. Use the belly, exhale to lift the foot from the mat, hips are staying level. Ribs sink towards the hips to extend the leg, exhale to lower. I'm not trying to shift out of a neutral spine. I'm trying to utilize all of these deep core muscles to support neutral throughout as I use these legs as now a dumbbell attached to this conditioning of the abdominals, okay? As well as the abdominals working, I'm not trying to stress the neck. So relax the neck, relax the head on the mat. If you need, pop something underneath the head joint that can lift the head a little bit higher and it can take pressure off the neck, okay? We're going to do 2 more on each side. Lift the foot on the exhale, belly flattens. Rib drop towards the hip, exhale to lower. Inhale, knee over hip and down. It's a leg float, an extension, and a leg lower. Inhale. Last one. Lift foot. Extend, exhale to lower, ribs sink in and down. Good, knee over hip, pop the foot down. Have a little break if you need. I'm moving straight into our ab curl 1. Hands behind the head, elbows wide, chest open. Now, if you want an alternate, a good exercise as an alternate for this will be your arm prep. I'm going to make sure that I'm keeping a little tuck of chin to chest. I'm going to switch back onto T-zone and gently float just the weight of my skull, paper's width from the mat. Keeping the head pressed in the hands. I'm going to exhale to curl, sink the ribs in and down towards the hip bones to scoop the abdominals. Just the back of the head, maybe the top section, an inch of your shoulder girdle, lifts from the mat. Inhale to lower. Keep that little tuck of chin to chest. Exhale, sink the ribs towards the hips to scoop the abdominals. And inhale to lower. We can keep feet down throughout our 10 reps if we choose. Some of you may like to add a single leg tabletop to make the exercise more challenging. As your head comes back to the mat, you might float 1 foot from the mat here, knee over hip. We're going to continue, exhale to curl, sink the ribs in and down to scoop the abdominals. Notice that your single leg tabletop is knee over hip throughout, and we're not looking to move the knee towards the chest. Good. Once we've done 4 on one side, we might like to transition to 4 on the opposite side. Foot down, single leg tabletop. You can take this moment to rest and reset. I'm moving straight in, making sure I'm not pulling on my neck, making sure my ribs are drawing towards my hips to scoop the abdominals. Beautiful. I've got 2 left. Some of you may be working feet down and you might have already finished 10 and you'd like to have a rest. I've got 1 more. I'm making sure I'm not pulling on my neck. I'm using my ribs towards my hips to scoop my belly. My knee stays over my hip. Good. From this point, I can bring the feet down and have a rest, or I might like knees to chest, just to release the lower back from neutral for a moment. Now I'm going to go into pendulum. So I'm going to bring my feet together, knees together, and zipper up to my groin. I've got a neutral lumbar spine. Some of you may like to work with 2 feet off the mat in a double leg tabletop, and if that's you, by all means work here. Arms out wide from the chest, palms facing up, shoulders relaxed and down. T-zone is switched back on through pelvic floor and abdominals, and I begin, inhale, both legs roll over one side of the body. I'm going to squeeze my inner thighs, exhale, scoop the belly out, return the knees to center. Good. Inhale, legs roll over one side of the body. With the feet on the mat, 1 hip, 1 glute, 1 foot disconnects. I want to squeeze through the inner thighs, scoop the belly, exhale, legs to center. If you're working in tabletop, knees and feet stay together at all times, please. And we're trying to keep the knees directed over the pelvis. Head wants to stay fixed on a point on the ceiling. And if you find that you're getting any neck stress, I want you to have a little tuck of chin to chest. I want you to limit the range in your pendulum, i.e. the legs don't go that far over. Our aim is to keep the shoulders relaxed on the mat throughout. So if your shoulder's lifting, you're going to be straining across your neck joint. Shoulders want to stay down on the mat at all times. Now we want to make sure we are using the obliques. So as we squeeze inner thighs, exhale, ribs come in and down to scoop the belly, returning legs to center. Good, we're going to work really hard in our pendulum for the next 2 more reps each side. Keep the head relaxed, fixed on a point on the ceiling. Let the lower body rotate from the top. Shoulders down. Inhale over. And exhale, squeeze, scoop, ribs in and down, return to center. 1 more each side. Good, last one. Excellent, feet come back to center. Part those feet, have a little break. Now, if you'd like, switch out this next exercise for a leg slide exercise. You can also add a leg slide and an arm prep to make a dead bugs exercise. I'm looking at oblique curl next. It may not suit you. Hands are back behind the head, elbowed wide, chest open. A little tuck of chin to chest, lengthening the back of your neck here. And think about a small head float from the mat once you've found your pelvic floor and abdominal connection. From this point, we're going to curl the upper body from the mat. Ribs are going to draw towards the hips to scoop the abdominals to lift the head from the mat first. And then we're going to rotate across the body, armpit towards the opposite hip bone. Keeping the pelvis nice and level, inhale, unrotate and lower. Take the head from the mat on an exhale, curling ribs towards the hips to scoop the abdominals first. Rotate the armpit across the opposite hip bone, keeping the hips level, knees fixed to the ceiling. Inhale to unrotate and lower. So if you find you're really challenged in this rotation, adding on to the flexion of the spine from our ab curl 1, then keep the feet down throughout. I'm going to add a tabletop. My foot is going to float over my knee. I'm keeping a nice strong tabletop, a nice neutral spine. I'm going to begin my ab curl, exhale to curl ribs towards the hips, and then I'm going to rotate across to the opposite armpit, trying to keep my pelvis level, my knee directed over my hip joint. Inhale to unrotate and lower. I'm going to stay on this side for 3 more to make 4. Exhale to curl and rotate. Inhale and lower. I'm not pulling on my neck. In fact, I'm very conscious of all the pressure I'm directing, and I want to make sure that I'm scooping the belly rather than letting the belly pop or flare. I'm going to do 1 more on this side before I repeat 4 on the other side. Exhale to curl and rotate. Inhale and lower. Other side. Head comes down, Foot down, I can reset, switch off and switch back on if need. Keeping the knee over the pelvis, exhale to curl first, scooping the belly out, rotating across. I'm not letting the knee drop out to the side. I'm also very conscious of keeping the hip bones level and a nice neutral spine. Exhale to curl, scoop the belly out, rotating across, inhale and lower. I've got 2 more left on this one side. If you're working feet down, you could always be resting if you finished your 5 reps on each side. My last one, exhale to curl, sink the ribs in and down to scoop the belly and rotate across. Inhale and lower head and shoulders down. Foot back to the mat, have a little break. Well done. We're going to finish with a little bit of pelvic curl here, and then I'm going to come back up for one last rolling exercise. Hands are by side, elbows relaxed, shoulders and head resting on the mat. Nice neutral spine. I'm switching back onto T-zone, and I want to take a big breath in. Now I'm going to begin by tilting my pelvis back. My hips are going to draw back towards my rib cage, tilting and resting the lumbar spine on the mat. Squeezing my big glute max muscles, pushing into my heels. I'm going to exhale, lift the pelvis from the mat, rolling from the lumbar spine, the mid-back onto the shoulders for a breath in. Keeping the tension off the neck, keeping the abdominals, the glutes, the hammies working. Exhale, we come back down through each vertebrae, upper back, lower back, and then pelvis. Come back to a nice neutral spine, so release your lower back from the mat. Inhale, and start again. Tilt the hips back towards the rib cage, lumbar spine resting on the mat. Squeeze the glutes, exhale, push into the heels. Peel your lumbar spine, your lower back, your mid back from the mat. Exhale to roll up. Inhale at the top. Ribs are going to come back down on the next exhale, keeping glutes and hammies working. Then we bring the mid, the lower back to the mat, rolling back down. Exhale. Pelvis down. Inhale, neutral. Now, if rolling or tilting through the pelvis does not suit you, you get cramp in your hamstrings, or it's too much for your lower back. Instead, you can focus on pushing into your heels, squeezing your glutes. Exhale, lifting your pelvis from neutral directly up. Inhale, squeezing the buttocks at the top. Breath in. And then exhale slowly, keeping the hamstring work going by pushing into your heels. Release your pelvis back down to a neutral spine at the bottom. Good. Inhale. Exhale, we can squeeze the glutes, push into the heels. We might lift the pelvis directly off, pushing through the heels to come into a nice neutral lumbar spine at the top of the pelvic curl for a breath in. Ribs stay down, backs not arched. We can slowly come back down on the exhale, pushing through the heels to keep the hamstring work. Bring the pelvis back down. Let's do 2 more. Rolling, if you'd like, through your pelvic curl. Coming to neutral at the top for your breath in and rolling down. Or you might just be lifting. Let's make this our last one. Choosing, if you'd like, which alternative for your pelvic curl. At the top, take a nice soft breath in and pause. Keep the glute and the hamstring work going. And then exhale, roll down through the spine, or slowly bring the pelvis back down through neutral. At the bottom, inhale. If you'd like, release your legs, have a little straight shake of the hamstrings and let everything go. Good. If you'd like, bend the knees, squeeze the inner thighs together, roll on your side, push yourself up. Now this is optional. Some of you will not like this exercise, you can skip it. I'm going to do a little bit of rolling like a ball. So coming to sit back in the bent knee position, I'm going to tuck my knees in and I'm going to wrap my hands around my thighs and round my back. Now if this position suits you, great. Some of you may also prefer to really hold on with forearms underneath the knee joint and really come in, thighs towards that chest. Before I adopt that position, I want to sit upright nice and tall once again. You can see I've lifted my rib cage from my waist from my hips, and I'm on my sit bones to switch on both my pelvic floor and abdominals. Once I've got this connection, I'm then going to round my spine. Look at me rounding forwards, just like I did in my hugger tree. I want to really separate my shoulder blades and push them back. Drop my chin to my chest so I'm looking at my groin. I'm going to take a breath in, and I'm going to walk my toes back towards me, lifting the pressure off of my heels, so I'm really resting on my sit bones. Keeping myself rounded on an exhale. I'm going to exhale, scoop the belly, roll back. Inhale, roll forwards and tap the toes down. Trying to keep myself as rounded as I can. Exhale, scoop, and forwards, inhale. Rounding and rolling along the spine and staying tucked in. If you are tucked in nice and tight in this position, we're not, I lost it. We're not looking to roll back onto the shoulders or the neck. So you're only rolling to about the point here where you feel your stop sign work and where you peel yourself from the mat up into an ab curl position. You'll notice in this position, I'm not very good at rolling. I'm too tight and I find that I can't articulate to roll forward. So I prefer this here. Keep yourself tucked in as much as you can so you can utilize the abdominals. Have a play with this exercise. It may not suit you, particularly if you don't like rolling back or you're very, very scared of rolling onto your neck or your shoulders or your head. Like I said, we should only be rolling back here. If you push the head or drop the head back, there is that risk that you will bang your back of your skull. So don't do that. Keep the chin tucked to chest. Now we're just playing with rolling just to release some pressure. I do have an additional video which goes through the next set of exercises in this rolling series, which I'll attach to the email. We're going to stop it there, so make that your last one. Bring your hands back either side of your hips, bent knees, let's roll ourselves down, and let's do a little glute stretch and a side stretch to finish our workout. In our base position with knees bent, a nice neutral lumbar spine, we're going to come up into a single leg tabletop. So switch on your abdominals and pelvic floor here and come into an exhale foot lift tabletop. Now we're going to rotate the thigh out from the hip joint, place the ankle on the supporting thigh just above the knee joint. Same side hand as this turned out knee is going to push the knee away, so we start to open up the side of the hip joint and the piriformis. We're going to be pushing with this arm 50% of our max strength just to get some nice PNF going. This might be enough for you if you're quite tight in your hips and your glutes. This might be where you just stick for this stretch for your 10 breaths. I'm going to make my stretch bigger, so I'm going to wrap my other arm around my thigh. As I exhale, I want to think about drawing the belly inwards. Think about my hip bones narrowing once more. As I exhale, pull my knee towards my chest. So I'm using this arm to brace the weight of the two legs from the mat. Pull the knee in as I push the knee out still, and I'm breathing in and out, using my push and pull through my arms to really get the stretch now on the side of the hip and the piriformis. I'm going to breathe in and out nice and deeply, counting a few breaths here, focusing on what I'm stretching. Good. 2 more inhales and exhales for our PNF figure 4 glute stretch. Last breath in and out here. Wonderful. Let's bring the foot back to the mat. Let's stop the push and pull. Now this top thigh is going to slide over the bottom thigh. Opposite arm to the top thigh is now going to rest on top. Other arm stretched out from the chest, palm facing up. Take a deep breath in. We're going to exhale, gently pull on the side of the thigh. Rotate the thigh over the body to come into a little supine twist. I'm using a little bit of pressure through the top hand into the top thigh. And if I want a bigger stretch, I can turn my eye line to look at my outstretched thumb. I might even think about pulling the inside of the shin of that top leg further towards the mat. A deep breath in and out. This is a nice long stretch down the side of your hip into your, down the side of your thigh, into your hip, and maybe through your lower back to the opposite shoulder. A nice deep breath in and out to finish here. Now we're slowly going to bring our pelvic bones back to the mat, and we're going to transition across. Uncross the legs, you can come back to 2 feet on the mat, and then come back to single leg tabletop on the opposite side. You may need to switch on and off before you bring the foot from the mat. Good, we're going to out-turn the thigh from the hip joint, place the ankle just on the thigh above the opposite knee. Same side hand pushes the knee away to start opening up the hip joint into our supine PNF glute stretch. From this point, the push is through this one arm to make this opening of the hip a little bit deeper. A nice deep breath in and out here. Keep breathing through your stretch. Wonderful, this might be enough for you. If you'd like, you can wrap your supporting arm around the supporting thigh. Exhale through the abdominals. Think about the belly button drawing inwards, the belly flattening, the hips narrowing as we pull the knee towards the chest on the opposite side. Keep the push and pull through the arms going. This will make your stretch quite intense on the side of the hip and the piriformis. But if this works for you, this is a really, really great way to open up the hip. A nice deep breath in and out here. Keep stretching. Good. From this point here, keep breathing through your stretch. Keep your push and pull going. Wonderful. We've got 2 long deep breaths in and out left. We're going to bring the foot back to the mat on your next outward breath and slowly transition to supine twist. Top thigh is going to slide over the bottom thigh. We're going to rest the opposite arm to the top thigh now on top of the thigh bone and take the other arm outstretched from the chest, palm facing up. A nice deep breath in and out here. Keep your focus on your stretch. As we exhale, we're going to slowly draw the side of the thigh over the body, coming into supine twist. A nice deep breath in and out here. If you'd like to make your stretch more intense, turn your eyes to look at your outstretched thumb. And you may also think about adding a little bit of manual pressure through that top arm, drawing the inside of the shin towards the mat. A few deep, long inhales and exhales here. Focus on this nice supine twist. Good. Last breath in and out here. We're slowly going to transition back to the mat with the hip bones. So slowly bring your pelvis back to the mat. Uncross the legs. Come back to seated by squeezing the inner thighs together and rolling on your side. Well done. You're all finished. Now, if you'd like any more workouts, let me know. I've got a few already ready on YouTube that you can follow. If you'd like any questions or you have anything that you'd like to discuss, let me know. Me or Mignon, we're always available through email. Otherwise, I'll see you at the end of January when we begin our classes again. Have a good break. See you. Bye.